everyone, my name is Swara, and I am part of the Mayor's Youth Leaders in Action. I serve on various committees, including the YADAP committee, which is hosting this session today.
Okay, so before we start, we just wanted to go over a few Zoom protocols. So first things first, just make sure you know like the session is going to be recorded. Also, please keep your mics muted unless when we're doing the icebreaker and Q&A at the end. And if you have any questions, you can use the hand raise button in WebEx.
Okay, so before we get started, we would like to let you know what MYLA and YADAP is. So MYLA stands for the Mayor's Youth Leaders in Action, and it is a program led by the youth of Virginia Beach. It exists to be a positive force in the community through leadership, service, education, and representation. MYLA members are given the unique opportunity to actively make a positive impact on the community. And that is why we are holding these sessions today with you. It's to educate youth on the dangers of vaping and why it's never a good idea to even try it. A team of MYLA members participated in the Youth Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention Project, also called YADAP, and this created the prevention plan of holding these educative, engaging sessions in order to address underage substance abuse. As YADAP awarded MYLA for our plan that we created, we are now implementing it with all of you.
Okay, so now we're going to do a quick icebreaker, and the icebreaker question is, what is the first word that comes to your mind when you hear about vaping? So if everyone can just go to this link. Miss Annie, are you going to post this link in the chat?
Yes, give me 1 second. I will post it in the chat so it is easier for all of you to access. You can also join through your phone if you think that that's easier. So we have harmful, dangerous, cancer, flavor, teenagers, metal. I'm gonna refresh one more time. See, we have more words. There you go. Okay, we have addictive. Yes, teenagers. It's very true. If you don't see the link, you can also go to answergarden.ch/1721-820, or just feel free to write the word in the write the word in the chat. Okay, you don't have to use this platform if it is hard to get into there. Okay. Perfect. Flavor, unhealthy, health conditions. Yes. Bad habits. That's very interesting. Deadly. That's gross. That's interesting. Risk. Alternative. Okay. We have three people who wrote dangerous. That's very interesting. Smoking. Harmful. Okay, perfect. We're just gonna give it couple more seconds. As I said, if you cannot join the answer garden, please feel free to just use the chat and share the word that comes to your mind when you think about vaping. Okay. Okay, one more refresh. Lungs. Okay. No hand smoke. Filthy. Okay, those are very negative impact. Those are very interesting words.
So yeah, again, thank you for putting your words in the icebreaker. It was really interesting to see what everyone thought about what vaping is. So before we talk more about vaping, I want to kind of clarify what it really is. So vaping is the inhaling of a vapor created by an e-cigarette or electronic cigarette or any other vaping device. So on the image on the right, you see various different vaping devices. Some of them look like USB flash drives, and some of them look like highlighters. They have many different shapes and sizes, which is one reason why it is attractive to many individuals. So e-cigarettes are battery-powered smoking devices that vary in shape, size, and color, as you can see in the image. They have cartridges filled with a liquid, which usually contain many different chemicals, nicotine, and flavorings. And this liquid is heated into a vapor, which the person inhales.
So moving on to a few reasons why people think vaping is cool. Curiosity, wondering what it's going to be like. A lot of people's friends might do it, so they consider it to be a social bonding aspect, and want to look cool in front of their friends. And like many of you guys were saying in the chat, there's flavor and taste that might appeal to teens. So some people just like the appearance of having that thick cloud that comes from e-cigarettes.
We would like to introduce you all to our very special guest speaker who is here today. He is Mr. Dennis L. Southers, Educator 2 at the Virginia Beach Department of Human Services.
All right, welcome everyone. It's great to be part of this. I love teenagers learning new things and sharing what you learn with somebody else. I do work with the City of Virginia Beach. It's really the Community Services Board, Behavioral Health, Wellness, Prevention Services. I've been there for 20 years and started as an intern. I remember working with Parks and Rec before. We did a program called Storefront, and part of their job, they got paid to teach other elementary school kids and middle school kids about tobacco. And you guys have a great impact on other people. I'll just say that. I graduated from Longwood University with a math degree. I will say many of you are probably going to college. And I was so excited to get away from home and be out of school. And I had a good time, in fact, too good of a time my freshman year. And I got what's called academic probation. And at the time, I didn't even know what that meant. And they said, well, if you don't get your grades up, we're going to kick you out of college. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not going to happen to me. And I got to work. But when you go to school, you've got to make sure that, remember, you may only have 2 tests, but that's 50% of your grade. So you got to study as you go through. And I made the mistake, but I made it through. A lot of freshmen quit their freshman year. So sticking to it is certainly a help. I've been a probation officer before. I've been a math teacher, obviously, before. Got my master's from Old Dominion. And whatever you want to do, you can do. I'll say that too. So we're going to get into the vaping, give you some more information. Hopefully you'll learn some things you didn't know about. So regular cigarettes used to be the focus. And because we've had so much education about regular cigarettes, you know, the numbers were so far down that tobacco companies were about to go out of business because nobody was smoking, or the numbers had gone so far down. However, the CDC and the FDA showed that more than 5 million US youth, including 1 in 4 high school students, had used e-cigarettes in the past 30 days. So it really became an epidemic. And most people have heard of vaping tobacco products like Juul or e-cigarettes, but you may not have heard of vaping marijuana or vaping alcohol. And Ms. Crumrine, she's going to be doing part 2 of this, but she's going to tell you more about vaping alcohol and vaping marijuana or smoking alcohol. Vaping marijuana can be done by using the same vaping products as e-cigarettes. And one method of vaping alcohol is just pouring the alcohol over dry ice and inhaling the smoke. And again, Ms. Crumrine will go into more of the dangers of that as we move forward. So now we want to take a look at why we want to be concerned. They've also looked at COVID-19 and vaping too, and that's obviously an issue as well. When you quit smoking or vaping, you can lower your risk of getting COVID-19. This particular graph, this is data from 2019. It shows an increase of vaping from 21 to 26% in high school seniors. Middle schoolers, the increase went from 19 to 25%. So again, you can see the rates are really high. Usage of e-cigarettes has passed the regular use of regular cigarettes. And one of the problems is that teens really don't recognize that they're dangerous. The left side of the graph shows how e-cigarettes have surpassed smoking. The right side of the graph, 12th graders believe that they're only smoking the flavoring, 62.8%. So next graph that we're going to look at. Again, left side of the graph shows daily use of nicotine, almost 12% for 12th graders. The right side of this particular graph, teens who reported using a vaping product in the past month. And in 2017, we're at 11%, but 2019 is now 26%. And if you look at past month use, 1 in 4 12th graders reported using a nicotine vaping product. So that's a lot of teenagers using vaping products. The next slide talks more about vaping marijuana. And the first graph on the right shows the number of teenagers using marijuana vaping product in the last month. 2017, it was somewhere between 4 and 5%. In 2019, it's around 14%. So you can see the increase there. The second graph on the right, it's daily marijuana vaping at 3.5% for 12th graders. There's a note at the bottom from 2018 to 2019. It was the second largest one-year jump ever tracked in the history of this particular survey. So again, there's concern about vaping marijuana, concern about vaping tobacco products as well. This particular slide, so why do teens vape? And I think, the teens talked a little bit about that at the beginning, but the top 3 answers: to experiment, to see what it's like. Okay, well, this is something new. I haven't heard of it. Wonder what that's going to be like. Number 2, to experiment, or number 2, because it tastes good. You can get different kinds of flavors. And number 3, to have fun with friends. And number 4 is interesting too, because that's to relax. And if you become addicted to nicotine, you won't be able to relax until you get the nicotine. So again, that's important too. It's also important to note that the number who answered because I'm hooked, that number has doubled. Types of vaping devices on the next slide, and many of these you may have seen. Obviously, the e-cigarette started looking like a regular cigarette. Then the Juuls came out and they became very popular with teens. They look like a USB device. They can be charged from any USB charger. Starter kits around $16, rectangular in shape. There's the Soren AirDrop, which looks like a fidget, and it's a card style. It's kind of the reddish looking one there. And again, starter kits for those around $30. There's some called Fix. That's a diamond shape. That's a little bit easier feel in the hands than the others. There are the box mode. That's the one at the very bottom. Just kind of if you have the box modes, you're obviously old enough to smoke because you're not afraid of people seeing that. The new things on the market. There's a new one called Puff Bars. And they're disposable. So if somebody takes it away from you, again, once you finish it, you're gonna throw it away anyway. So there's no refills for that one. There are no recharges for that one. You get about 400 puffs for it. They come in flavors called OMG, which is orange, mango, and guava. There's a new one on the market that I haven't seen yet, but it's coming. It's called IQOS, and it's not really an acronym, but it's meant I quit ordinary smoking is what a lot of people are labeling it. And it heats and doesn't burn the products. Again, there's not as much research out about these, but you want to find out what does the research say about this, because that's the important thing, which is why we're here today. So we're going to look at vaping devices. They really started again with the lookalike cigarettes. The FDA says that the IQOS, the OS sales to adults will be allowed because the product has fewer or lower levels of toxins. According to the FDA, all tobacco products are potentially harmful and addictive because they have the nicotine in them. Sales of the new heat not burn alternative to cigarettes are not allowed in the United States. But again, the IQOS, it looks like they're making headway to getting here. We work for another program, which will show on the next slide the different devices and what they look like. But if you ask teenagers these days, we do a program called SAPE, which is the Substance Abuse Intervention Program. But when you ask them, would you smoke cigarettes? They say no. But if you change the question and say, do you vape? Oh yeah, we vape, but that's different. And so you have to be careful how you ask the question. But these are very easy to hide in the classroom. Teachers probably wouldn't recognize them. They look like pens or cartridges. They're Sharpies. They can look like, again, like the cards or like the, lots of other electronic devices. So it's very hard for teachers to even be aware unless you are. I think the next one is a video. If we can get the video up for this one.
A seemingly healthy Texas teenager suddenly unable to breathe and hospitalized with lung failure. His doctors suspect vaping was the cause. We want to thank our affiliate, WFAA, for their help with this important story. And Lindsay Davis is here with that for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Robin. A lot of parents certainly paying attention to this one. Teens are reportedly using vaping devices in record numbers. The U.S. Surgeon General has called e-cigarette use among youth an epidemic. And now Tristan, a 17-year-old from Texas, is warning other teens by sharing what happened to him.
It's an unnerving scene. The body of a teen spasming in a coughing fit on a ventilator just to breathe.
It just progressively got worse extremely fast.
17-year-old Tristan Zofield was taken to Cook Children's Hospital in Fort Worth, Texas, with blockage in his lungs.
I woke up just throwing up everywhere, and my heart was just pounding out of my chest, going 100 miles an hour.
And doctors believe it was all because of vaping.
He's a very sick, otherwise healthy-looking child. And we don't see previously healthy 17-year-olds that sick that quickly.
In late July, Tristan's family sat by his side day after day, not knowing what was wrong, as he lay in a medically induced coma.
We were baffled at first. We had no idea what was going on.
His parents then learned Tristan had been vaping without their knowledge since the 8th grade, sometimes as many as 2 to 3 vape pods a week.
You don't want your child to have to go through what we went through to get to the point that he came to.
And this isn't the first teen hospitalized after vaping use. The CDC has identified 153 cases of severe lung illness associated with e-cigarette use across 16 states. The CDC continues to investigate and has not identified a particular device or liquid as being associated with those cases. For Tristan, he's now hoping to warn other teens.
It's a big deal. It's not something to look over.
Tristan survived after being in a medically induced coma for 10 days. His doctor thinks that the chemicals caused his lungs to inflame so much that they could no longer exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide. And yet, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, 37% of 12th graders say they have vaped. 17% of 8th graders say that they've done it too. 8th graders. The good news here, at least, Tristan says that his friends, after seeing what he went through, immediately
the kids are under the illusion that it's safe. It's
right.
just
Yes.
And it was dramatic to see that video, but it's important, I think, for parents and for kids to see that video to see what can happen.
Exactly. Such dramatic video and reaction to vaping.
It seems like we're doing a daily story, because as we should be, and more needs to be learned about this.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
show highlights and watch live event.
So that's, to me, that's an example of you're inhaling something, but you're not really sure what it is that you're inhaling. And that's been the problem with regular cigarettes for years, because people really didn't realize that they were harmful until many years of research, and it was made publicly much later on. But by then, a lot of times it's too late because you get addicted, and they think, a lot of teens think, well, it's just water vapor. It's harmless. But there's a lot more to what meets the eye. It's not really a vapor, but it's an aerosol, and we're going to look at some of the ingredients that are in that. So if you compare the aerosol composition, these are some of the ingredients that are found in the harmless vapor products. And you will note that many of those, if you studied what's in tobacco products, many of those are exactly the same. Your lungs are always made to inhale oxygen, but when you vape, a lot of other products go in there as well. And that's really what your lungs are for. They should be breathing in and out oxygen and not anything else. If you have to smoke it to get a benefit from it, I will say it is not going to be healthy for you. And that's marijuana, that's tobacco. It's the smoke that does the harm. Now, you know, other things that they found out, especially about marijuana, can tell you some things that are different. But if you have to smoke it, it's certainly not good for you. Some of the products are nano particles of aerosol, which are very, very microscopically small. Metals such as tin, copper, silver, nickel. By some of your responses that I saw at the beginning, you guys already have a pretty good idea of some of the things that are involved in vaping. Flavoring linked to serious diseases. Some of the ingredients on the chart are the same as tobacco, like the arsenic and formaldehyde. When you do a comparison, you'll see a lot of those same things. So again, when you're breathing in what you think is an aerosol or a vaping product, you're putting things in your lungs that shouldn't be there. Next slide, we'll talk about the nicotine and how what that's about. The teen brain is very sensitive to nicotine, and addiction comes much quicker because you're a teen. Nicotine is one of the ingredients that makes whatever product that they're selling, makes you want to buy more of it. You have to have more of it. According to the Center for Disease Control, 99% of e-cigarettes contain nicotine. Even when they tested the products that said no nicotine, they still had low levels of nicotine. You know, can't even trust that. Nicotine is frequently used in insecticides to kill bugs. There was a story on the news that had, I think a teenager had a St. Bernard, and the St. Bernard got a hold of his e-cigarette, and it killed the St. Bernard. It takes just a little bit of nicotine to actually kill a person or a pet. Nicotine chambers can leak, and the nanoparticles in the vapor can lead to heart disease, a lot of other things that we probably don't even know about yet because we need more research. And again, it takes time to get the research so that you can make better decisions. So what about the nicotine content, which is the next slide? You have one pack of cigarettes will contain about 20 milligrams of nicotine, but one Juul pod contains about 41 milligrams of nicotine, and the Fix pod has 75 milligrams of nicotine. The Sorin pod has 90 milligrams of nicotine. There are nicotine that you can get in the puff bars, which are the new ones on the market, from 0.5 to 15. A disposable e-cigarette claims to have 68 milligrams of nicotine. This nicotine amount is equal to 68 cigarettes of nicotine. So when you do the comparisons about how much nicotine that they're putting into the vaping products, it's certainly much higher levels for all of those. I think, yes, and you'll see those as they pop up as we go through. So some points to remember about the research that's out there, and I always say, not just to teenagers, but to everyone, it's important for you to do your homework, for you to find out. Things are changing all the time. What does the research say about what you're doing? And if you look at the first article, research shows that teenagers who have vaped are almost 4 times as likely to go on and smoke traditional cigarettes. And that's from Pediatrics 2018. Again, lungs are made to inhale oxygen, not chemicals or ultrafine products found in vaping. And again, be on the lookout for new marketing of nicotine products called IQOS or the puff bars. Another thing that you may want to keep in mind too, and this would be a great project. I'm sure you guys have seen the people throwing the cigarette butts out. Trillions of those pollute our environment and our earth. If you go to California, you're not even allowed to flick your cigarette butts on the beach because they monitor that. Here in Virginia, you can throw them anywhere, and rarely does anyone ever do anything or say anything. But what do you think is going to happen with all of the vaping products? And I want to give you a little information about that too. The FDA said that e-cigarettes and the liquid should not be thrown in regular trash, but taken safely to a hazardous waste facility. And we know that's not being done now, but there's so many different particles in there, and that's from the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA.gov. So what happens when all of those vaping products are out there and they're disposed of improperly? That's another problem that we really haven't even started to deal with yet. So I hope you gained something new, that you learned something, and I appreciate your time today. And the important thing is share it with somebody else. Other teenagers listen to you. Elementary kids listen to teenagers tremendously, and you have the choice. You can certainly take care of yourself and choose not to. What is their theme? Be smart, don't start. Don't start. But if you do start, if you've already started, there are lots of things out there that will help you quit, which you'll get in hopefully the next session or the session after that. So some good things are out there. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I don't claim to be an expert about drugs, but I do know quite a bit, but we'll take it from there. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and start with the Q&A. So please, if you have a question for Mr. Dennis, feel free to either write it in the chat or you can also raise your hand and I can unmute your microphone, okay? When you are sending the questions, make sure that you're sending them to everyone so we can all see the question. Okay, any questions? Okay, see Jaden, you have a question, so I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you.
Thanks. I have a question, not to omit anybody, that's telling them that smoking isn't bad, but why is it that some people, seem to be somewhat healthy later in life when they've been smoking for so long? Like, people are living till like 80 and even 90 years old, and they've been smoking, up until their deaths. How does that work? Like, is it possible that some people just aren't really as, intolerant to the chemicals as other people?
I'll do my take on this too, and I know Ms. Cromrine may want to add something as well, but I have a friend of mine that she was 72 years old, had smoked her entire life. She was completely healthy and really had very few repercussions with cigarettes whatsoever. However, every time, and she was a good friend of mine as well, every time I went to her house, she was smoking a cigarette, and her husband ended up with esophageal cancer and eventually died. He never touched a cigarette, but he was around her, so he was inhaling the smoke around her. The same thing was true with my mother. She never touched a cigarette, but my father smoked. My mom ended up with breast cancer. She went through treatment, through radiation, through chemotherapy. They say if it stays gone for 5 years, you're okay. But hers came back, and she ended up dying from breast cancer. And I believe if she hadn't been around the smoke, she wouldn't have gotten the breast cancer. And yes, we're all different, but yet there are some people who can smoke and seems like they can do all kinds of things to their body, yet they live through it. But why take that chance? Why not do what you know is healthy for your body is my question. Ms. Cromrine, you have anything you want to add?
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, I have Isabel.
So I just had a question. If you were to know someone who is vaping or smoking cigarettes or something like that, do you have any resources you recommend to help them with stopping that, or like acknowledging the reasons why that's bad? Any way that we can reach out to them and try to help them out?
Yes, there are lots of apps that are out there. Some are designed just for teenagers, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to, let me see if I can just give you one right now. There's one called This Is Quitting, which is a really good app for young people, but there are tons of different apps that you can download to kind of get the help with that too. And I know that in the next session they're going to cover a lot of the quitting things and things that you can do that will help as well. So that's definitely a good question and important for people to ask. And the first question was really good too, because we get a lot of people that ask us, well, I know people that, you know, they're 80, 90 years old, they smoked all their life, or, you know, and they're fine. But we're all different, and some people do something and immediately they have a repercussion just because of their body, and others it takes longer. But the one thing that I see, especially with vaping or tobacco products, is that it really takes your looks, your money, and your health, and you don't really get anything that's positive. Of all the drugs out there that are legal, to me, tobacco is the worst, because I can't even think of one good thing that it does for you. I can't think of one. And other legal drugs, the research is out there for alcohol, for marijuana, and there are some studies that show some benefits in certain relationships. But I can't think, again, not one for vaping and tobacco.
Thank you, Dennis. The next question is from Tiffany. She's asking, do you think all the vape products are going to become a big problem to landfills and pollution, like become a big contributor to those things in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I really don't know the answer to that. I mean, I hope that we figure out how to recycle or how to do something with them, but I am worried, because when you have 25% of the teens and more people vaping, where are all those products going? What's happening to them? I really haven't seen a lot that have been thrown on the road or discarded. Just somebody like the cigarette butts they'll throw out the window. I haven't seen that, but again, I don't know. That's a really good question, and I really hope that, people are adults and they have the choice to, okay, I choose to do this or choose not to do this, knowing the consequences. I think the key is hopefully young people will step up and say, this is what we need to do. If you do vape responsibly. To me, it's kind of like litter, because a lot of people throw their trash out the window, but you want to remember that your kids and your kids' kids have to live, and you want a better world for them too. So we want a better world for everyone.
I know that Kirsch had the hand up, so do you still want to ask a question?
Yeah. So my question is, does smoking and vaping contribute to global warming and climate change?
I really don't know. That's a good question. And I would guess yes, but I honestly have never done any research on that. Anyone else know?
That may be a question that we can answer in the next session.
Okay.
So we can do that. We can do that research for you and find out the answer for the next session. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Perfect. The next question we have is from Daniel. So, could cancer from smoking be attained by offspring? Does it become genetic?
I think the answer to that is yes, and part of it is the access. I mean, if you're around somebody who smokes and the vaping products are in their house or the cigarettes are in their house, then you're more likely to pick them up and try them. So I'm going to say yes to that. I think when families are addicted, that addiction can be passed on to other people in the family.
The next question is from Elizabeth. What is your take on products that people use that aren't vaping? It is, okay, give me 1 second. What is your take on products that people use that aren't vaping? It is more like they help with the sleep and to energize. Is it dangerous to put anything into your lungs?
Yeah, I'm not sure I heard the whole question. So would you repeat it one more time, please?
Sure. I think she's asking, like for those products that aren't vaping, but are used to, go to sleep or energize the person. Is it dangerous because it is still something that goes into your lungs?
I would say if it goes into your lungs are made just for oxygen, not for anything else. Anything else that you put in there, you're endangering yourself to have cancer, have other diseases that are out there as well. So why take a chance when you have, your lungs are made for the oxygen, not for other particles, or it's kind of like me taking a bottle and filling it with all kinds of different things. I could put a little bit of lye, a little bit of gas, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you don't know what it is, but you drink it, and it may not kill you, but it could certainly over time do some damage to your body that otherwise you wouldn't have to. And I don't think there are very few people out there that when they vape, they know exactly the products that they're vaping. When you buy a can of tomatoes, you get a list of everything that's in the product that you're eating in order from the highest to the lowest. But when you buy cigarettes, you don't get a list of, oh, here's everything that you're taking in, and here's when you smoke this product, here are the things that are going in your body. You don't see that list. So,
thank you, Dennis. And actually, I do have an answer from the question about global warming and climate change. So, Michael, thank you so much for sharing the answer. It says, yes, smoking most likely contributes to global warming. That's very much what Dennis said as well. It throws up gems into the stratosphere and most likely acts as a greenhouse gas and keeps heat in the atmosphere longer. Also, James answered to that as well. It says smoking contributes to pollution and over time can contribute to climate change. Also, many chemicals in cigarettes are dangerous for the atmosphere. So I hope that was an answer to your question, Krish.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Perfect. And we have one more question. So from Tiffany, she says, besides the chemicals with the smoke, where are all the vape products even going? I want to look into it more.
Besides all the chemicals in smoke, and that's a good research question, because I know even when you look at like a tobacco product, there are certain chemicals that are already in there, and then when you smoke it and burn it, then there are more chemicals in the smoke, and they sort of add those together. From what I've read about vaping is that there are not as many chemicals in the vaping products as there are in the tobacco smoking products. But again, you're still putting things in your body that's not going to, that really don't belong in your body. So, and you pay for it. So you have to realize that the smoking industry is about making money. And if they can get you hooked on nicotine at 14, 15, 16, then they probably got a lifetime smoker for the rest of your life. And you'll continue to buy their products, and you buy them because you get addicted to them because of the nicotine. And again, it's very difficult to quit smoking or quit vaping once you've gotten accustomed to that nicotine. And sometimes I hear kids say, well, I never use any drugs, I don't do anything. But if you drink a Coke or coffee in the morning, you have your caffeine every morning, and caffeine is technically a drug. So that, and although it's not it's not a dangerous drug, although there are some dangers with too much caffeine, but nicotine we know is also a poison, and certainly you don't want to put a poison in your body.
Perfect. Thank you, Dennis. We have just one more question. This is the final question because we need to move on. If you have more questions, please make sure you put it in the chat, and we will be able to send you an email after this session answering to those questions, okay? But for now, we're just gonna go with the final one. It is by Rhea. And the question is, why is secondhand smoke sometimes considered more dangerous?
I guess I would say because of its impact. If you choose to smoke, then you're doing harm to yourself, and it only affects, well, it affects just you mostly. But the secondhand smoke it's already kind of gone through your body. I know it's dangerous, and I know from the fact of my family, because of what happened to my mom and because of what happened to some friends of mine. Is it more dangerous or less dangerous? I would say just as dangerous. And I think even today, people are a little more respectful. And y'all can't remember this, but I can remember getting on an airplane and smoking was legal for you to smoke on the airplane. But now they know that this is dangerous, that the secondhand smoke is very harmful to everyone who's in that closed environment. And maybe time has been our teacher, but now with vaping, and I think when vaping started, they said, "Oh well, it's the cloud, it's the smoke, but it's also dangerous as well, and definitely harmful, in my opinion."
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dennis, for being here and for sharing all your knowledge with the youth.
Okay, so for reminders for next time, our next session will be on March 15th at 4 p.m., like this time, and the following session will be on April 14th as well. Also, you guys may know already that you are able to receive community hours for attending these sessions, but you have to attend all 3 of the sessions to receive your community hours. So make sure to sign up for it if you haven't already. And then we are planning to have and host a run walk on Mount Trashmore on May 22nd, but we are not completely sure if it's going to be in person yet or if we're going to be doing it virtually. But please be on the lookout for any updates that we will be sending you for that. And lastly, if you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns, please contact us. We have our email, Instagram, and you can contact our speaker, Mr. Dennis. And all of the information, emails, and such are on the slide.
And just another reminder for the community hours, if there is one session that you cannot attend, I know that we have some middle schoolers here that may not be able to attend to the second session because of the time, because it is a Wednesday. We can send you the recording, okay? So you get to see one of the sessions in a recording if you cannot attend to the live session, but you need to let me know, okay? And that's all for today. Thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, please let us know in the chat. If not, thank you so much for being here, and we will see you on March 15th at 4 p.m.
This is Annie.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes.
I have a quick question. So for the next 2 sessions, is there like a specific place we should go to register, or are we already registered for them?
Yeah, if you selected the all the 3 sessions in the registration form, you are gonna get the invitation for the other 2. So you don't have to register again. This is only if you haven't, but I'm pretty sure most of you here already registered for all of them. So you will get the registration and the invitation. Just as you did with this, you will get those emails.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You too. Margaret, Michael, you have any questions?